Hello, my friends, and in this video, I shall be doing my last segment of the signs of the times. So I pray to Yahuwah that you've watched the first few, I believe I made 3 previous videos. I pray you've watched those videos and took in the information and really are understanding that the hand of Yahuwah really is moving forward and that we are definitely close to our Father's return. So let's dive right in it. We're going to start at Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to read to chapter 25. And it says, And going out, Yahusha went away from the Mikdash, and his Talmudim came near to point out to him the building of the Mikdash. And Yahusha said to them, Do not, do not, do not see all these? Do you not see all these? Truly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. And he sat on the Mount of Olives. The Talmudim came to him separately, saying, Say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming, and of the end of this age? And Yahuwah answering said to them, Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fighting, and reports of fighting. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. And this good news of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end shall come. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the Nabi, put up the Mikdash, he who reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. And I'm going to stop right there and explain that verse. So it says, so in verse 15, Yahushua is saying to his disciples, the Talmudim, so when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the Nabi, put up the Mikdash, he who reads, let him understand. So right there, that is a reference to the anti-Messiah, the lawless one, the man of perdition. And we know that the third temple is going to get built, and that's when the man of perdition, the lawless one, sits on the throne and proclaims him to be above everything that is Yahuwah, and he's going to proclaim to be the Most High. And I do plan to make a video on who I believe is the man of perdition through the information that I have been finding and researching. So I will make a video on that. So definitely stay tuned for that one. All right. And it says, and continue on. It says, so let him who is on the housetops not come down to take whatever out or his house. And let him who is in the field not turn back to get his garments. And woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing children in those days. And pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on this Sabbath. For then shall be great distress, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the children of Israel, the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened. If anyone then says to you, Look, here is Hamashiach, or there, do not believe. For false messiahs and false prophets shall arise, and they shall show great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. See, I have forewarned you. So if they say to you, Look, he is in the desert, do not go out. Or look, he is in the inner rooms, do not go out. Do not believe. For as lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Benai of Adam be. For wherever the dead bodies is, there the vultures shall be gathered together. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then the sign of the Benai of Adam shall appear in the heavens, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Benai of Adam coming on the clouds of the heavens with much power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four corners, from the four winds. For one end of the they for let me read that again. And he shall send his messengers which with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these signs, know that he is near at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. The heavens and the earth shall pass away, but my words by no means shall pass away. But concerning that day and the hour no one knows, not even the messengers of heaven, but my Father alone. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Benai of Adam be. For as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day of Noah entered into the ark, they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also shall the coming of the Benai of Adam be. Then two shall be in the field, the one taken and one left. Two shall be grinding at the mill, one taken and one left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Adam is coming. And know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Because of this, be ready too, for the Benai of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master put over his household to give them food in season? Blessed is the servant whom his master having come shall find so doing. Truly I say to you that he shall put him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant says in his heart, My master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with drunkards, the master of the servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know, and shall cut him into two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right, and that is all of Matthew 24 to chapter 25. And notice in the last few lines from about from 42 all the way to 51, Yahuwah is talking about how if the master of the house knew when the thief would come, at what hour he would come, that he would be watching, right? That he would be watching and paying attention and making sure that everything's okay. And then in the next line, Yahusha says we need to be like that. We need to always be watching. So, because it's so easy to get discouraged and say just like in the next few lines, the servant ended up saying that, "Oh, my master is delaying his coming." And then the servant started to slip up. He started hanging out with drunkards. He started doing what is abominable. He lost his faith. He was no longer paying attention to the signs, and he was no longer keeping his house ready. So that is when Yahusha ends up coming to you as a thief. Because if you're always being prepared, right? If you always are mentally engaged in the knowledge that Yahusha could be coming at any time, especially seeing how perilous these days are that we're living in, with a lot of Bible believers in the Muslim territories are being killed by ISIS members, by being killed, are being killed by all those extremists over there. They're being killed because they're believers in the Word of God, and they're trying to take the Bible seriously, so they're being killed for their belief. And we see how in today's time in places like Canada, they actually take out scriptures from the Bible that talk against homosexuality, because now they have gender neutral rules in not just in Canada but here in America. So the word of Yahuwah really is under attack. So we are seeing how we really do need to be even more so paying attention to what the next day brings. Because notice, Yahushua said to his disciples that no man knows the day or hour that his Father is coming. Not even the angels, only the Father only. So definitely, if we're not taking this seriously, this is going to come on as a snare in the night. We're going to be partying in Miami. We're going to be getting drunk, getting high, doing all these things that are keeping us away from paying attention to what's going on around us. And then bam, right, just like that, bam, Yahuwah's going to do something, and it's going to catch you off by surprise. And personally, me, I say my prayers to Yahusha, to Yahuwah every night, and pray for knowledge, wisdom, and strength, and that if there's anything Yah wants to reveal to me, that he needs to reveal to me, I pray for that, so that I'm always prepared, because I'm always trying to keep my own house ready, so that this thing doesn't come to me as a big shock and a surprise. Even if this thing don't come for another 4 or 5 years, I plan to be ready and watching every single day, because in that, say it does take another 4 or 5 years to come, as we get further down the line, it will become even more and more obvious. Things will be happening. Tomorrow will not be the same as the day before. Something is always happening every day, especially in these times, in today's time, that are pushing us closer and making it more obvious that Yahusha's return is imminent. Okay? So you have to be careful about that, and we always got to be watching, and we cannot allow this thing to catch us by surprise, because we already don't know when it's coming. So this is why Yahusha says to always be watching over your house, being ready for that thief that is coming. And that thief in the night is the day of Yahuwah. So we need to always be ready for that. And we need to not slip up and say, "Oh, my master delays his timing," talking about the Messiah, and then start to get caught up in the cares of this world, and then start to digress from serving Yahusha. So we cannot do that. It doesn't matter if you are so-called Hebrew. It doesn't matter if you're the children of Israel. It doesn't matter if you're a Gentile. If you are watching this, it don't matter what side you're on. Yahusha, the day of Yahusha is for everybody. So we all need to be paired. We all need to be prepared together and be watching and praying every day. All right, and I want to continue on. And I want to go to Joel chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 15. So let's check that out. It says, "Alas, for the day of Yahuwah is near, and it comes as a destruction from El Shaddai." And El Shaddai means the Almighty. So in plain English, it would say, "And it comes as a destruction from the Almighty. Is not the food cut off before our eyes, joy and gladness from the house of Elohim? The seed has rotted under their clods. Storehouses are laid waste. Granaries are broken down, for the grain has withered. How the beasts moan! The herds of the cattle are restless, because they have no pasture. The flocks of sheep also perish. I cry to you, Yahuwah, for fire has consumed the pastures of the wilderness, and a flame has lit on fire all the trees of the field. Even the beasts of the field cry out to you, for the water streams are dried up, and fear has consumed the pastures of the and fire has consumed the pastures of the wilderness. And I like these verses here because one thing Yahuwah is talking about here, he mentions how even the animals cry out to him in their distress and misery. So it is not just the people, it's not just people who are dying that are crying out to the throne for Yahuwah to bring judgment and crying out to Yahuwah to make things right and to come and set everything straight. It is also the animals, because right there in verse 18, it says, how the beasts moan, the herds of the cattle are restless, because they have no pasture. The flocks of sheep also perish. And it says in verse 20, even the beasts of the field cry out to you, for the water streams are dried up, and fire has consumed the pastures of the wilderness. So even the animals are crying out, saying, Yahuwah, come, make things better. Make things better for us. Because I'm not sure if too many people know this, but in the book of Jubilees, I believe it's in chapter 2 or chapter 3. It's definitely in those early chapters, between chapter 2 and chapter 3. It talks about how when Adam and Eve sinned, that Yahuwah kicked out the animals of the garden and he shut up their mouths so that they could no longer speak. And it goes on to say that all animals spoke with one lip and one tongue. So the animals were able to speak to Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve were able to speak to the animals. So of course, anybody who sees how animals interact with each other when they see animals in the wilderness, how a mother cares for, say for her cub, if it's a bear, how a lioness cares for her cubs, you definitely see that there is emotion and feeling, and they have some form of language there. So the word of Yahuwah is making it known to us that these animals do have a language, that they do have feelings, and that they can cry out to Yahuwah, which they are doing, as Joel chapter 1 verse 20 makes it clear to us that even the animals are crying out to us. And see how they're complaining about how there's no more forests, and how the water streams are dried up and stuff like that. That's due to the construction of man, how we are going into the animals' environments, cutting down their trees just to build houses, just to build a mall, a shopping center, and stuff like that. And how a lot of animals have gone extinct over the years because of human interference. So these animals are crying out to Yahuwah because their territory is being run over and being consumed by human hands, just to make a mall, a shopping plaza, to make houses, or to take up a lot of space just for some rich person's mansion, stuff like that. And we see how, and also don't forget how animals are just being killed on the daily for fun by poachers. So these are all reasons that animals are crying out to Yahuwah, because they're just being killed. If, for example, if it's an elephant, we know that in the early days, like the 1800s and stuff like that, many elephants in Africa were killed for their tusk, because you can make ivory from that. Ivory is in their tusk. So we know that many elephants were killed in Africa by the hand of King Leopold, and we know that For example, the dodo bird was killed to extinction by settlers when they first got to the islands. So all these animals are crying out to Yahuwah and saying, "Avenge us, restore our land," and all that stuff. And in the word of Yahuwah, it makes it clear that if rocks were able to, if rocks, that even rocks would be able to cry out to Yahuwah if they had a regular voice, that they would be able to cry out to Yahuwah. All creation is meant to serve Yahuwah. So don't forget that there is a spirit, there is an angel watching over everything. There is a spirit to every living thing. Trees can cry out to Yahuwah. The wind, everything has life to it, and because that's how Yahuwah made it. So make sure we also notice too, it says, "Alas, for the day of Yahuwah is near," and it comes from a destruction from the El Shaddai, the Almighty. Okay? And continuing on, it says in chapter 2, it says, "Blow a ram's horn in Zion, and sound an alarm in my Kadesh mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the earth tremble, for the day of Yahuwah is coming, for it is near. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds, dense clouds, like morning clouds spread over the mountains. A people many and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor shall there ever be after them, to the years of many generations. Ahead of them a fire has consumed, and behind them a fire burns. Before them the land is like a garden of Eden, and behind them a desert waste. And for them there is no escape, and from them there is no escape. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and they run like steeds. And as the noise of chariots they leap over mountains, as the noise of flaming fire, consuming stumble, as a mighty people placed in battle array. Before them peoples are in anguish. All faces become flushed. They run like mighty men. They climb the wall like men of battle. Everyone goes on his way, and they do not break ranks, and they do not press one another. Everyone goes in his path. They fall among the weapons, but they do not stop. They rush on the city, and they run on the wall. They climb into houses. They enter at the window like a thief. The earth shall tremble before them. The heavens shall shake. Sun and moon shall be darkened, and the stars withdraw their brightness. And Yahuwah shall give forth his voice before his army. For his camp is very great, for mighty is the doer of his word. For the day of Yahuwah is great and very awesome, and who can bear it? So right there, if you don't know who Yahuwah is talking about, Yahuwah is talking about the children of Israel that he will resurrect, that is spoken of in Ezekiel chapter 37 at the valley of dry bones. These are those children of Israel. And as you can see, the children of Israel that are being resurrected, that will be his army, are very strong and powerful. And as you can see, Yahuwah says in verse 8 here, he says they fall among the weapons, but they do not stop, meaning they're going to get shot, hit, whacked, all that stuff, but they will just keep pressing forward because there is no more death for them. They are Yahuwah's army, and then they will be caught up into the heaven as well. So we're seeing how Yahuwah is using the fallen children of Israel that have died in righteousness trying to serve Yahushua HaMashiach, that have wrongly been killed. They will come back and be Yahuwah's army. And notice at the very end it says, "For the day of Yahuwah is great and very awesome, and who can bear it?" Who can bear it? Because so many things are going to be coming our way. And I will be making that what was going on in the days of Noah video, if you don't already know. So stay tuned for that. And also, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, like it, share it, spread the word of Yahuwah, okay? And subscribe so that you can always be informed about what Yahuwah is doing next. So continuing on, It says, continuing on in verse 12, "Yet even now, declares Yahuwah, turn to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning." So notice this, that repenting and getting it right with Yahuwah, repenting is stopping your works of lawlessness and stopping it completely and asking Yahuwah for forgiveness and not going back to it. And also, as you see, fasting is a part of repentance. So we must also fast and we must come to Him with a very mournful heart, as in we are definitely sorry for our actions. So we have to come with Him with repentance and fasting and being very humble about the wrong that we have done. And continuing on to verse 13, and it says, "And tear your heart and not your garment, and turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim, for He shows favor and is compassionate, patient, and of great kindness, and He shall relent concerning the evil." Who knows? He might relent, and leave a blessing behind him, and grain offering, and even a drink offering for Yahuwah your Elohim. Blow a ram's horn in Zion, Kadesh a fast, call an assembly, gather the people, Kadesh the assembly, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that nurse on the breast. Let a bridegroom come out of his room, and a bride from her dressing room. Let the Kohanim, servants of Yahuwah, weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, "Spare your people, O Yahuwah, and do not give your inheritance to reproach for the Gentiles to rule over them." So notice Yahuwah is saying, gather everybody, bring everyone, bring all the children of Israel to repentance, to fasting, to weeping. Gather them all. Let's pray together. Let's do this thing. Let's come together to Yahuwah. And as a nation of people, that's the important part. Because us coming to Yahuwah as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, that don't make a difference. That's good for us, of course. That's good for us as individuals. Because, that will count towards us for righteousness, and Yahuwah will remember us in the day of tribulation. But for the entire nation of Israel to be brought back to Israel, that takes our entire nation to come to Him with prayer and fasting and wanting to be better and to do better, and coming to Him so that Yahuwah will bring His people back and redeem us. So that for us to get back into Israel and for everything to be set straight, we need to come to Him as a nation, not as individuals. All right, and continuing on, it says, "And let Yahuwah be jealous for his land, and separate his people. And let Yahuwah answer and say to his people, See, I am sending you the grain and new wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied by them. And no longer do I make you a reproach among the Gentiles. And the northerners I shall remove far from you, and drive him away into a dry and deserted land, and his face toward the eastern sea, and his rear toward the western sea. And his stench shall come up, and his smell rise, for he has done greatness. Do not fear, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahuwah has done greatness. Do not fear, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness shall spring forth, and the trees shall bear its fruit. The fig trees and the vine trees yield their strength. And your children of Zion, be glad and rejoice in Yahuwah your Elohim, for he shall give you the teacher of righteousness, and cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain, as before. And the threshing floors shall be filled with grain, and the vats shall overflow with new wine and oil. Then I shall repay you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the crawling locust, and the consuming locust, and the and the and the gnarling locust, my great army which I sent among you. Then you shall eat and be satisfied, and shall praise the name of Yahuwah your Elohim, who has done you so wondrously. And my people shall never be put to shame. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, that I am Yahuwah your Elohim. and there is no one else. And my people shall never be put to shame. And after this it shall be that I pour out my ruah on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men dream dreams, your young men see visions. And also on the male servants and the female servants I shall pour out my ruah in those days. Which if you don't know this by now, when Yahuwah is saying I shall pour out my ruah, he means I shall pour out my spirit. And I shall give you signs in the heavens and upon the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke. The sun is turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming and the great and awesome day of Yahuwah. And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. For on Mount Zion, in Jerusalem, there shall be escape, as Yahuwah has said, and among the remnant whom Yahuwah calls. Okay? So he goes on to say that there will be blood and fire and columns of smoke. That is talking about war. Blood in the land, because remember how Abel's blood cried out to Yahuwah when he was killed by his brother Cain. So this is talking about mass death of people around the world. And he says blood and fire. When he's talking about fire and columns of smoke, he's talking about war and destruction right there. So like I like to look at what's going on in California, how there's this massive wildfire. That is only just a smidge of what Yahuwah has in store for the world. That is just a smidge of his coming judgment. Just a smidge. And I have one more chapter to read. And this is a very important chapter. This is Joel chapter 3. And this is talking about the valley of Jehoshaphat. If you've never read this, listen up, especially if you are not the children of Israel. Alright, it says, For look, in those days and at that time, when I turn back the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem, then I shall gather all Gentiles and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I shall enter into judgment with them there for my people, my inheritance, Israel, whom they have scattered among the Gentiles, and they have divided up my land. So right off the bat, Yahuwah is letting you know that there is a judgment coming for Gentiles, for Gentile nations, for the wrong that they have done to the children of Israel, for the lynching, for the KKK mobbing, the slavery, for them taking the land of Israel and claiming it to be theirs, spreading the treasures and keeping the knowledge withheld from the world and especially from the children of Israel about who the correct people are. So there is a judgment coming for Gentiles, and meaning the nations of people who are not the children of Israel. And he makes it very clear as we continue on. And it says, continuing on, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given my young men for a whore, and sold a girl for wine, and drank it. And that is literal, because in the days of slavery, the children of Israel, slaves, were part of something called I forgot what it's called. It was called, they were in sex farms. That's what it was, sex farms. And they would teach women. They would take slave women, the children of Israel. They would take slave women and teach them how to seduce men and sexually please them. And they would also teach boys too, because there were gay slave masters and gay white people in general. And then they would teach the boys how to give oral sex, how to please men too. So they were giving men, they were teaching, and then they started them off as kids and teaching them how to do that stuff. So if you didn't know that happened, that they did that very much. And if you want to see a movie where they actually showed that in very great detail, you can watch a movie called Goodbye Uncle Tom. Goodbye Uncle Tom. So that's the name of that movie. So continuing on, it says, For you have taken, my bad, I skipped a line. It says, And also, what are you to me, O Zaire, and Zidon, and all the coast of the Pelisheth? Are you repaying me? And if you are repaying me, I would swiftly and speedily return your reward on your head. For you have taken my silver and my gold, and brought my treasures into your temples. That's talking about how these other nations are stealing the items of the children of Israel and bringing it into their own temples and claiming it to be theirs. And the people of Yehuda and the people of Yerushalayim you have sold to the sons of the Greeks to remove them far from their borders. See, I am stirring them up out of the place to which you have sold them, and I shall return on your own head what you have done. So notice he's saying his children of Israel were sold to the Greeks. So we know the children of Israel were sold to the British, who were sold to the British, to the European, who are descendants of the Greek nations, okay? And notice he says he's bringing us out of the lands of which we were sold. So we know that the Khazar Jews were never in slavery. They were never in slavery. And we also know that Yahuwah is taking us out of the land of which he sold us into. So nowhere does it say that he would allow the children of Israel to come back into the land where before the returning of his Messiah, which the Khazar Jews have done, and saying that they're the children of Israel. Nowhere in Scripture does it say that his people would come back into the land and then he would gather the rest of them and bring them back to Jerusalem. It says nothing like that. It says that he will bring us out, he himself, meaning in the coming of the day of Yahuwah, that Yahuwah will bring his people out of the land of which we were sold into, and then everybody will be back in Jerusalem. Okay, so continuing on, and it says, and see, I am stirring them up out of the place to which you have sold them, and I shall return on your own head what you have done, and shall sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the Shebites, to a nation far off, for Yahuwah has spoken. Proclaim this among the Gentiles, prepare for battle, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of battle draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Hasten and come, all you Gentiles, and gather together all around, O Yahuwah. Let your mighty men come down here. Let the Gentiles be aroused, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I shall sit to judge all the Gentiles on every side. Put in the sickle, for the harvest has grown ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is filled, the vats overflow, for their evil is great. Crowds, crowds in the valley of decisions, for the day of Yahuwah is near, and in the valley of decisions. Sun and moon shall be dark, the stars shall withdraw their brightness, and Yahuwah shall roar from Zion, and give forth his voice from Yerushalayim, and the Shemahim, the heavens, and the earth shall shake, but Yahuwah shall be refuge for his people, and a stronghold for the children of Israel. Then you shall know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my Kodesh mountain, and Yerushalayim shall be Kadesh, and foreigners shall not pass through her anymore, meaning no more foreign people will take over Yerushalayim. You know, like how King Nebuchadnezzar got his hand on the land of Yerushalayim, the Pharisees, how they were in control of Yerushalayim, that stuff. Yerushalayim will only be in control of the children of Israel, Yahuwah, Yahusha. And it shall be in that day that the mountain drips with new wine, and the hills flow with milk, and all the streams of Yehuda shall be filled with water, and a fountain flow from the house of Yahuwah, and the water, the Wadi Shittim. Mitzrayim shall become a ruin, talking about Egypt. Egypt shall become a ruin, and Edom a ruin, talking about white supremacy, white nations, Greece, Rome, those places, the Vatican, shall become a ruin, the United States, a wilderness. So Egypt shall become a ruin, and Edom shall become a ruin, a wilderness, because of the violence done to the people of Yehuda, whose innocent blood they shed in their land. But Yehuda shall dwell forever, and Yerushalayim to all generations. And I shall avenge their blood, which I have not avenged. And Yahuwah shall be dwelling in Zion. And notice he says, I shall avenge their blood, and I shall avenge their blood, which I have not avenged. So he hasn't done this yet. So we know that the children of Israel are only getting back into the land once the Messiah comes back, once Yahuwah takes his people from the four winds, the four corners of the earth, and gathers us, okay? So we know just from what Yahuwah is saying that the people in Jerusalem right now are not the correct people. So may Yahuwah bless you, and I pray that you take this video into much consideration, and this has opened up your eyes even more. And I pray this makes you want to serve Yahuwah even better and really gives you understanding of what's going on. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please like this video. Share it. Definitely spread the word of Yahuwah to anybody, your parents, your mom, your dad, friends that you know need this word of inspiration, especially if you are a descendant of the children of Israel, meaning your ancestors were in the transatlantic slave trade and you are still black to this day. Share this among the other nations of children of Israel and get the word out there. Get the word out to Gentiles because the day of Yahuwah is near and very awesome. And who shall be able to stand? Shalom, my friends, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be either what was going on in the days of Noah, and the next one will be who is the Antichrist, who is the man of perdition. Thank you. Shalom, and I pray this video was a blessing to you.